Where's our da-da-da-da-da? My gosh, just start over. Do it again.
All America, all the time. Sit down, buckle up, and get ready for the Dan Bongino Show.
I'm glad you guys just saw that, because some of you in the chat, I bet you think like, oh my gosh, leave him alone. I do leave him alone. He's the best. I just, you got to get my da-da-da-da-da. By the way, can you turn that down a notch or two, like 66 or 65? I'm already like sweating. I'm telling you, man, this is like, you can't like work out in the morning and come in here, even after jumping into cold plunge and freezing your tomatoes off. You still got to, it's like, I'm always hot all the time. I got a big show for you today, folks. Right out of the box, I've got some really important updates on this critical case that's going on. There's something I need to get out there. So I need your help in this, because I'm convinced something's not right there. All right. So stay tuned for that. I think Paula and the team are all watching today too. So big salute to you all. Good to see you. Folks, today's show brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. They're having a President's Day sale. It's live, 47% off, even more, 47% off ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, GLP-1s. It ends February 17th. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino, allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. Consult a medical professional before taking any medications. And today's show also brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile. Last year was a big eye-opener with a lot of things, but one thing that was really weird watching was all this infighting. That's why I love Patriot Mobile. They stand with their principles and their values, freedom of speech, the right to life, the Second Amendment. They're big supporters, supporting our military and first responders. Why aren't we more focused on these things instead of attacking each other? There's one company that's been fighting for our rights. They've supported this program from the very beginning. That's Patriot Mobile. Unlike other mobile providers, Patriot Mobile works on all three major networks. In fact, you can be on multiple networks on the same phone. More importantly, their customers enjoy priority service with the same or better quality as their old providers. Patriot Mobile's 100% U.S.-based customer service team makes switching fast and really easy. Keep your number. Keep your phone or upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan and get a free month of service with the offer code Dan. This company's been fighting for things we all believe in for over a decade. They are great. Let's thank them by making this switch today. Switch your mobile provider over to Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan. That's patriotmobile.com/Dan. Let's see if they get this. 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Meatloaf says 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It's on purpose. Of course it is. It's on purpose. Guy says it's on purpose for engagement. We got a fancy little tablet now. Paula got me yesterday because I'm getting so freaking old I can't see anything anymore. I used to have good eyeballs. No more. Everything's falling apart, collapsing. So I had to get this tablet to be able to read your comments during the show. You know I like to see them. So first, on a lighter note, before we get to the serious stuff, can Jerry Nadler, when he's not, exiting the stage because there may have been a premature release before he hit the bathroom, can Jerry Nadler at least stay up for a hearing? The only reason I play this at the beginning of the show is I had a lot of interesting experiences over the last year. One of the most interesting is how unserious a lot, not all, but a lot of these people are up on Capitol Hill. You think you're voting for, or you should be voting for, leaders, people who are willing to lead on political issues. I don't mean leaders like, military generals, but I mean leaders like they should be willing to lead on issues and conservative ideology. And if you're a liberal ideology, these people are not leaders. They're most of them are just morons. And Jerry Nadler's one of them. The guys at this hearing yesterday, hat tip Allison Steinberg for this. And look at this guy. By the way, I don't even know, the meeting couldn't have been, how long was this meeting? I mean, if it's like 16 hours long, later the staff comes up. Here's the staff like, hey, buddy, probably not a good idea to sleep, and it just started 5 minutes ago. Everyone else, go get a coffee, man. Take a Vivarin or something, green tea, whatever. Can you stay awake for 5 minutes? And I mean, and if you're going to give a speech on stage, maybe go to the bathroom before from now on. I mean, who are these clowns? These are people who are supposed to be in our constitutional republic, the vanguards of a representative democracy. Come on, man. Just absolute clowns. Sorry, I just had to get that one out of the way because I this guy particularly can't take. We've been dealing with him. He was born in New York, up in New York forever. Thankfully, he's exiting stage left. Folks, switching gears a bit. I haven't, again, spent a ton of time every day because I got a lot to get to today, including another episode of Trans Violence and some inside baseball and what we did about it, while what we're still doing about it while Cash is still there at the FBI, because we were shocked to find a couple of things. But on the Guthrie case, so you've probably seen the news stories that a black glove that appears to resemble the black glove of the perpetrator or the suspect in the case caught on the Nest camera was found on the side of the road. Listen, I'm reading the news reports here. I am pretty confident the cooperation level between the sheriff and the FBI is not good. Folks, I'm not here. I got Senator Tommy Tuberville coming up later, and we're going to chat more about this. I'm not here to tell you, the FBI and federal law enforcement, Secret Service, DEA, we're the answer to every problem all the time. Local police officers are the best of the best. Nobody knows their AORs, areas of responsibility, the people, the sources better than them. Some of these detectives have conducted more homicide interviews than a 20-year FBI agent. These guys are incredible. And the FBI has TFOs, task force officers too, because police officers and others, because they're so good at what they do. However, when it comes to science and technology, it's a simple matter of a budget issue. I don't want to bore you with details, but the FBI's budget is close to between 11 and $12 billion. That's a lot of money. Now, it's a global enterprise, but a lot of that goes to our OTD, our lab division. And in that amount of money, a good amount of money is spent on law enforcement technology. DNA, everything from analyzing tire prints. If there's not cooperation and there's this parochial, it's my investigation, we're not giving this to you guys because we just don't want to, you're not going to get the answers you want. I'm pretty confident I know what I'm talking about. The cooperation here has not been great. This is not about who gets there's no winning here. It's not what this is about. About just solving the case. I'm telling you, when we did our fugitive task force, I told my guys, I don't care who gets credit for an arrest of a fugitive. Anyone telling you otherwise is full of shit. Everyone in those rooms on those VTCs know I made a big point of this. I don't care. Let the state or the city do the press conference, take all the credit. I don't care. Taxpayers pay for an FBI to go help. That's it. Not to get in people's way and be weaponized. I'm telling you, the cooperation has not been good. All right. I got a lot to get to. Speaking of violent crime. So during the past year, we were going through stuff. And every day would just be volumes of material. What are we doing about counterintelligence? What about counterterrorism? What about weaponization? What about this squad? What about this field office? One of the things I was always suspicious about early on was I found it awfully odd, given the multiple episodes of anti-religion violence by people who were trans, that I didn't feel enough of a concentrated effort to analyze this appropriately with the FBI. Hey, man, this is your taxpayer money. This is a problem. We've got people, whether it's Minnesota or Tennessee or elsewhere, who are claiming to be trans, who are walking in and shooting up and killing a bunch of people. That's a freaking problem, man. And I didn't feel like there was enough attention being put to this. So we went through the whole system of threat banding and how we looked at it, and we basically threw it out. And we brought that into the analytical mix and put a bit of a focus on it. And I said, I want this report put together. And now you're seeing another incident of trans violence. And again, it's just one of our major reforms was focused on this because this is a real problem. And anyone telling you otherwise is absolutely full of shit. And folks, the media refuses to discuss this topic honestly, and it is driving me freaking crazy. I'm going to tell you this on this show. I'm going to tell you over and over. I don't care whose ox is gored. I don't. It is, you lose credibility over time if every argument you make has some partisan slant when there are obvious facts. If some guy walks out tomorrow and says, hey, listen, I love this Republican senator and I'm murdering you on his behalf, it's not the Republican senator's fault. However, we do have to acknowledge that the guy said that. Okay? It's not hard to do, and to be honest. But when it comes to these suspects and perps who are trans, by their own declarations, by the way, the media, I don't know, man, we can't find a motive. How is it you can never find a motive? They're telling you what the freaking motive is. I promise you, at least under this leadership now at the FBI, that's not the way things roll. And again, receipts matter. Accountability matters, correct? We all agree, 2 thumbs up. I'll prove it to you. First, let me show you the great libs of TikTok, who we love. It's amazing. Libs of TikTok. The media is reporting a female shooter was responsible for this massacre we're discussing, unfortunately, that happened in the school in Canada the other day. That's what we're referring to. Jesse Strange was a man pretending to be a woman. Media is covering up trans violence. Look at some of these headlines. They're doing it again. Canada school shooting, 9 killed by a female. Not a female. A woman who was believed to be a shooter. Again, a female suspect, 10 dead after a woman opens fire. The subject here, is not a woman. Female identified as suspect. The worst Canada school shooting in decades that killed 10 and injured at least 25. Folks, this is not just euphemistic nonsense. If you don't diagnose the problem, there's another one there. Thanks, Guy. Female suspect. If you don't diagnose the problem, how are you going to implement some kind of a cure? Think about it. For the media morons watching this show can't figure this out. If you've got tuberculosis, are you going to give people a treatment for lymphoma? Dan, that's a stupid question. It's not a stupid question. If you can't diagnose what the problem is, how are you going to apply the appropriate solution to the problem, whether in medicine or elsewhere? How are you going to have behavioral analytics applied? We have a BAU unit that are going to go out and look at this. What's the problem? Is it this hormone treatment for these trans kids? Is something going on? No, we don't want to talk about that. Well, we're going to talk about it because people are dying. It's real. It's happened. I was there. Don't tell me. And again, with all due respect to law enforcement dealing with a tragic situation, what in the is a gun person? A gun person? You mean a gunman? What the hell's a gun person? Listen to this.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay.
What
That
is a
includes
gun
the
person?
deceased gun person.
Okay.
No, not okay. It's not okay. Folks, this has gotten insane. Where now we've got the subject involved in a mass murder where we're concerned about what? The delicate sensibilities of the trans community rather than calling this stuff what it is? This is my first hat tip, by the way, to the great Maze Moore, a fantastic account on X, MAZEMOORE. We use a lot of his clips, so hat tip to him. Maze Moore, I'll give them a follow on X. Hat tipping is appropriate. It's the right thing to do. Put this clip together. This is great. Yeah, it's a Grabian cut in the beginning, but there's some other stuff he put together as well. Thank you, Key. This is a media montage of a tragedy I was personally involved in when I was back doing the bureau work. The Minnesota school shooting and another case of trans violence, anti-religious violence. Here is another media montage of the media just seemingly confused about the motive in the case. Check this out.
Federal law enforcement identifying the shooter as Robin Westman, formerly known as Robert, but filed for a name change in 2019 to use female pronouns.
For the first time, we are now learning who that shooter is. The minor child, quote, identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that.
She identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage. It's now Robin Westman.
Robin Westman.
23 years old. When you have mass shooting investigations so often, there is a pattern. I think police are trying to get after that tonight.
You know, you see obviously some real clues here as to what a motive could be, but they're not saying formally what it is yet.
We don't have a motive at this time.
It's unclear what the motive was.
Again, there's just nothing specific in the evidence that's been recovered.
There's no information, nothing specific to identify a specific motive, but they'll be continuing to talk to people to see if there was a flag, if something may have popped up that they can look into.
There's no clear motive, and that's what we want to know. Was this a revenge shooting because there were prior affiliations to the school?
Folks, having lived this from the past year of my life, it's incredible how the media can never find a motive when the motive is kicking you right in the balls. And then we had another incident involved another tragedy and another act of violence. And in that case, there was a mild indicator of maybe the person may have been pro-Republican or pro-Trump. Remember this. And the media already had a motive before anything even went out. You can't trust these people. They never tell you the truth about anything. You can't find a motive. We didn't listen to any of that bullshit. Here's what Director Patel put out about this exact incident. You're seeing some of those cuts about on that Maze Moore clip. Update on the shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is obviously from months ago. The FBI is investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. He mentions the fatalities. The shooter has been identified as Robin Westman, a male born as Robert Westman. The FBI will continue to provide updates to the public when we are able. Again, these are the stories like the Doomer crowd doesn't want to tell you about, how the FBI, you would have never heard language like that in a politicized, weaponized FBI before. Again, does it mean accountability's over? All problems are fixed? Everybody should celebrate? Bullshit. It does not. It just means there were real changes made, including an entire culture change that we're going to call this stuff what it is. And we put out with another act of terrorism, we were investigating this as an act of terror, and the media went crazy. That freaking clown who had my job before, Andy McCabe, that absolute tool, he goes, I can't believe the FBI is saying they're investigating this as an act of terrorism. Hey, asshole, what do you think we were investigating as a freaking grand larceny auto? Using terror to achieve some kind of ideological goal and violence is the very definition of terrorism. It's morons like you that's why you never got anything done. Too focused on locking up your political opponents. What a bag that guy was. I used to watch this guy and laugh. Hear stories about all day what kind of a tool he was. He was a briefer. Guy loved coming in, bragging about all his money. I'm married to a doctor. I don't even need my FBI stuff. What a tool. That's who was leading this place before. That's the mess to be cleaned up. There was no confusion. Of course we were going to investigate it, moron, as an act of terror. That's what this stuff is. What are you investigating it as? A burglary? Folks, you can't trust these people in the media to report on this stuff honestly and hold people like Andy McCabe when he had the deputy job over there and the acting at one point. You can't keep these people accountable with a media that constantly provides cover for stupidity and then leaves out important facts. Here's another one. Here's a tweet by The Sun. There was another act of Islamic terror. And watch how they run cover for this. You're never going to get the appropriate medication for the problem if you can't diagnose what the freaking problem is. The Sun, teen suspect, quote, yelled as he slashed two pupils in a classroom. Keep this up, guys. Really? Yelled? Yelled what? This is X, of course. Here's a community note. The headline omits what the article states. The suspect yelled, Allahu Akbar during the stabbing. I think that's kind of an important piece of information, folks, don't you? I don't know, Guy. Guy wants to, what could he possibly mean by that? I don't know, Guy. I'm confused. I'm confused. I don't know. No idea. Justin, any ideas? Andrew, the sequel? Any ideas? Sorry. Yeah, I told you you're part of the show. Who's Andrew the sequel? We had a new guy on board today. I warned him. I told him in a job interview. He accepted. I said, hey, you're part of the show. Day one, get in the mix, brother. What could possibly be the motivation? Allahu Akbars, you stab two kids? I don't know. What could possibly be the motivation when a trans guy walks into a school or a church, does a video saying how he hates all these people and hates religion or whatever and all stuff, and starts shooting up at your, I don't know. What could be, he's right, could be anything. He's mad he got ripped off on an eBay purchase a few weeks ago. That's definitely the motivation. Now you understand why you work at it. It was the greatest experience of my life, seeing this from the other side. How there's the real world and the media world. And they rarely, if ever, intersect. Ever. Folks, there is an opportunity cost to all of this. You know, I love economics. I try not to make the show too heavy on the topic, although I could because I really enjoy it. But the concept of opportunity cost is very simple. That there's not just the cost of something. You know, I always used to give the example of Paula, right? Paula is a really brilliant web designer. When she was not, now she's the president of the company, but before, when I met her, she was doing web design work. She was really good at it. She paid a lot of money. If Paula forfeits that job and goes and works in a bagel store for $10 an hour, if you're looking at it just in pure financial terms, you're like, wow, Paula's making $10 an hour. In economic terms, she's not, because she could have made, I don't know, $100 an hour. She's actually losing $90 an hour. That's the foregone cost of a lost opportunity. Why do I bring that up? Because when we got in there and we looked at how the FBI had these threats banded, folks, there was so much political bullshit in there. It was unreal. They had all these agave, all this other stuff. Be like, what the? I mean, can we just get to the point? Finally, I said to one guy, and thankfully they changed it. I'm like, guys, we're going to call terrorism terrorism. That's it. Change it. I'm not going to ask again. And Cash was like, do it. It matters because there's an opportunity cost to wasting a lot of time investigating threats that are this big and acting like they're this big. And then threats that are this big, investigating them like they're that big. There's a lost opportunity. That's how you miss stuff. We weren't having any of that. And by the way, I want to correct the record on, not for us, but the media record too, because every time there's one of these shootings, whether in Canada or elsewhere, you're going to see 1,000 articles about the United States is the world leader in mass shootings. This is the most violent country in the history of planet Earth. People are killing each other everywhere. It's the freaking Wild West. Great piece in the Federalist. Always does amazing work. Love the Federalist. Bookmark their website, federalist.com. There was a great piece I read yesterday about mass shootings in the United States. Huge problem, yes. Stop the ridiculous hyperbole, though. The United States is like every day there's an OK Corral breaking out in every corner. Ryan Petty. Gun control doesn't stop shootings outside the United States, so it won't here either. But they cite the work of John Lott, who does incredible work in the Second Amendment. He studied the global phenomenon of mass violence. Lott's research debunks the common misconception that America leads the world in mass shootings or school violence. It's not true, folks. Here's the quote. While the U.S. had about 4.5% of the world's population during this period, it had just 2.9% of the public mass shootings, or even less, since our non-U.S. data is surely missing many cases. It's kind of important, like numbers matter, right? Not that this isn't a problem. Clearly, it's a problem, a huge problem. However, again, when you're treating a problem on scale and the numbers on the scale are wrong, you're never going to get a measurement and you're never going to be able to allocate resources properly towards that proper measurement because your measuring stick is wrong. Folks, the media does it on purpose. It's their way of implementing gun control to try to take your gun away from you, although you've done nothing wrong, by dramatizing the problem. Mass shootings, man. Every Wawa 7-Eleven parking lot out there, there's a gunfight breaking out every single day. Really? It's interesting. I don't see that. There are pockets of violence, ironically, in cities and localities run by liberals, which Cash and I, under the direction of the president, had to go in and clean up. Just tell the truth, man. Just tell the truth. I got Senator Tommy Tuberville coming up later. I'm going to address the global security environment too, because folks, there's something I'm going to bring up with him. I'm always hesitant to say this, because I don't want anybody to panic and I don't want to be dramatic either. I just called out people who are overly dramatic about a problem, which skews the measurement, which skews the opportunity cost of fixing the problem. But when we get up every morning, you know, we have the small problems, right? Like I come in, Guy, of course, forgets the opener, so we should all in the chat make sure to remind him the entire show. Guy forgets to put the I had to sing my own opener today, which no one ever wants to hear. So, of course, as you know, when people screw up, me included, it becomes part of the show. But that's a small problem. It's not even a thing. Like, it's actually, I love that the show is live and we could just do stuff like that. But that's a small problem. That's no big deal. We do live shows, stuff happens. I love Guy, I love my team. They're amazing. I promise you there are real problems out there. We would come out of that 8 a.m. briefing every morning, the PDB, the President's Daily Brief, and I'm telling you, there are times I would talk to Paula later in the day and I'd be like, hey, Paula, you know, ignorance is bliss, I swear. We are living in a really dangerous world, folks. I promise you, with some of the stuff the president's doing that may not make sense to the 18-year-olds at the Washington Post with a journalism degree, if you knew what he knew, it'd make a whole world of sense. I'm going to do a quick segment on this now. You know, obviously, I'm not going to give away national security secrets. I think that's fairly obvious. However, the president is the right guy. And some of the stuff you're seeing on the surface, if you saw what was underneath, although the president's the duck on the surface, smoothly coasting across the water, when you see the feet underneath, you understand why he's coasting that way. All right, quick break and we'll get back to the show. Hey, while everyone was focused on the halftime show, one of the largest U.S. military buildups in decades is quietly growing in the Middle East. That's right, an entire carrier battle group and over 110 C-17 transport planes pulled up to Iran's doorstep. It's a tense situation, could escalate at any moment. And I'm not saying we're going to war with Iran. I'm just saying, listen, I just got over telling you this. It's a really, really dangerous world we live in. Live your lives, don't panic. But the way to not panic is to be prepared. I have always advocated for preparedness. It's hilarious to watch these like liberal media folks constantly attack preparedness. They're going to be the ones knocking on your door when something bad happens. Go, hey, you got some supply items and preparedness items and emergency items for my family? Hey, sorry, I told you to be prepared. You didn't listen. That's why I'd like you to head over to preparewithdan.com today. Our friends at My Patriot Supply set up a complete preparedness package just for you. Folks, get one of these. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. That's the way to not have to worry and not have to have the anxiety about emergencies. Get this preparedness package. Here's what it includes. Backup power, survival food, water filtration, and more, all in one bundle with over $800 in free gear. They're calling it the Mount Rushmore of preparedness, and it won't be around long. Go today. Get prepared. Go to preparewithdan.com today. That's preparewithdan.com. Please check them out. Get prepared. All right. Also, All Family Pharmacy. I got news for you. All Family Pharmacy is running a big President's Day sale with 47% off the medications everyone is asking about. Ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD, hydroxychloroquine, GLP-1, weight loss medications. And I'm telling you, this is the perfect time to stock up on what you need and have it at home. These are perfect. I did not plan this at all, by the way. The spots running after the preparedness segment, this is perfect. This is why I like All Family Pharma. They're built for people who want to stay prepared and not get caught off guard when someone in the house gets sick. You don't want to be knocking on a pharmacy window, guys. We're closed. No good. You don't have to beg your doctor for a prescription, sit in a waiting room, or deal with insurance nonsense. You simply complete the form online. A licensed doctor reviews it, provides a prescription, and your medication ships straight to your door. It's simple. It's straightforward. No coupon is required. The sale ends Tuesday, February 17th, and once it's over, the prices go back up. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. Grab the 47% off while it's still live. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bongino. Do it today. It's not medical advice. Consult a licensed healthcare professional before taking any prescription medicine. Okay, back to the show. Folks, again, if they would just tell the truth, these media folks, about Republicans, conservatives, and the MAGA movement, I think we would be in a better situation. Again, I'll address with Senator Tuberville later another concept, too, how the national security of the United States, in other words, us being able to wake up every day in Florida, Texas, New York, wherever you live. I lived all over the place, Maryland, spent time in Georgia, elsewhere. We've lived everywhere. Paul and I have been all over the world. Don't you think it is a bipartisan concern to not wake up in the morning to a freaking mushroom cloud in a major city in your AOR? Or the area you live? It's kind of a big deal, but it's not a bipartisan concern. I'm telling you it's not. These folks, many of them in D.C., don't give a shit if there's a freaking mushroom cloud in D.C. tomorrow, as long as they can score a political advantage. They want to shut down DHS funding. That's a perfect example. They're actually called the Department of Homeland Security. Democrats like, we don't need that stuff. No, who needs Homeland Security? Here's what I'm talking about. And you get this from these media folks, too. They're worried about, like, European Union approval ratings and all. So you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about New York and D.C. not blowing up and everywhere else in the United States. Check out this tweet by this guy. Folks, we're in danger. We're in real danger. We have real threats. And we need our allies overseas, with due respect, the Canadians, the Mexicans, the EU, our partners in Asia and elsewhere. I'm really sorry. The Middle East, everywhere. You guys have to step up, too. You know, it's Trump's approval rating. This is Roman Shirameta. Trump's approval rating in Europe. It's at a historic low, the lowest of any American president. The disapproval is universal. The propaganda claiming everyone now respects the U.S. is exactly that, propaganda and lies. The data shows the opposite. No, Roman. You're confusing approval ratings with respect. That's a big mistake. If they didn't respect what President Trump was asking of the EU, European Union, and NATO, then why are you look at this DOW, Department of War press release? For the first time, in many cases ever, NATO-aligned countries and NATO countries themselves, just U.S. Department of War, it's from June of 2025. NATO leaders pledged to increase defense spending. Roman, you're reading this all wrong. I'm just going to be candid with you. Having to deal with a lot of foreign partners, I was very straight with them. We had tons of meetings with foreign partners. I told you at day 2 about the Washington Post, that ridiculous story about our Ukraine meeting. Secret Ukraine meeting. Secret meeting was on my public schedule. Like, are you guys as stupid all the time? You meet with foreign partners all the time. We were very candid with them. Cash, I had multiple meetings. I could go through the countries. I had, 15, 20, flew over to a foreign conference where I met with them on the counterterror issue. We were very frank with them. Yes, we are here to work towards a common goal, stopping a terror attack. We will do whatever we can to share information and make this collaborative. However, I was absolutely crystal clear, and so was Cash. When we ask you to do something, we expect you to do exactly the thing we asked. This is not a free one-way street anymore. And many of them were very helpful, even if the political leaders at the top had some friction. And President Trump let us do our thing. But we're not there for approval ratings. Folks, again, I don't give a shit if they liked me, if they didn't like me. I was friendly with them. And I don't think President Trump gives a shit if they like him or not. But you damn well better respect him. And based on actions, not words, these media people are bullshitting you again. We're not respected. No. You're confusing approval ratings with respect. That's a catastrophic mistake. We don't need to be liked. This is Guy's, I always have to say, it's Guy's favorite cut. Folks, can we get a round of applause in the chat? Round of applause emoji, the clapping hands for Secretary Rubio. Secretary Rubio has about 100 jobs. He does just Secretary Rubio has quite a few jobs. Secretary of State being the job he was confirmed for, but he wears many hats. I was in briefings with Secretary Rubio. He does an amazing job. He's an amazing leader. And I got to tell you, Secretary of State wise, we're a year in, but I ranked this guy at the top. We'll see over the 4 years, but really 1 or 2. He's doing an incredible job. I can tell you from firsthand experience. But here he is talking about exactly this. Hey, we're all about partnerships. They're helpful. We need foreign countries for trade, for products, intelligence support, period. We need you. Due respect on that, we need you. A lot of them do amazing work in the intel front and elsewhere. However, we are providing a global security umbrella that we just can't afford going forward, and you guys got to step up. Here's Rubio making the case. Guy's favorite cut of the day. Check this out.
I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. What they certainly don't get to determine is how the United States defends its national security. The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting that all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem. So I would say that the United States is, and this president has made very clear, his job is to protect the United States from threats against the United States, and that is what he's doing in this operation.
Big hat tip to Secretary Rubio for laying it out there straight. You're damn right. The president's job is to protect the United States, not have a global approval rating in EU that's positive or 50.1%. Who gives a shit? Folks, listen, I traveled to Europe personally, professionally. It's a beautiful place. Traveled to the Middle East, many countries, Arab countries. I've been to Israel, been to Egypt. Great. But this president, this administration needs this to be a two-way cooperative relationship. And getting back to the story I used before about how President Trump is the duck coasting across the top of the pond. All you see is the smooth operation on the top. Below, I promise, there's a lot going on. That's why a lot of these decisions, when you see a lot of these newspaper jerkwads and they're like, oh my gosh, he's treating these people so poorly. Oh, they're not going to like us. They're not going to give them a back rub or a pat on the back. Carney is saying this up in Canada. Scheinbaum, and then previously AMLO and Petro and Colombia and Mexico and all this. They don't like the president. Nobody cares in this White House who likes who. Nobody gives a shit. They care about making you and your community safe and a freaking mushroom cloud not going off in Houston. You didn't live it. You're not there. You have no idea. Here's J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, talking about exactly this too. Everybody, Greenland, it's so crazy. Greenland, I'm not going to beat this up. You've done the Greenland topic before. However, it's only sitting right there. Right there. If Greenland, God forbid, were infiltrated, I'm not even talking about invaded by I'm just talking about significantly infiltrated even more by enemies of the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a really big problem. I'm not, and you shouldn't be either, in any way remotely upset about the president stating the obvious. Hey, man, we can't have this potential threat lying right there and not do anything about it. Vice President Vance knows that too. Check this out.
It's very important to the national security of the United States of America. I do think that some of our allies have underinvested in Arctic security. And if we're going to invest in Arctic security, if we're going to basically pay a lot of money and be on the hook for protecting this massive landmass, I think it's only reasonable for the United States to get some benefit out of that. And that's going to be the focus of the negotiations here over the next few months.
All right. Again, we've discussed this topic at length. However, you just simply don't know what you're talking about if you're writing hysterical articles. President Trump's a lunatic. Who really cares about Greenland? The answer is people who don't want the United States to go boom. That's who cares. It's right there. Can you look at a map and see? It's right there. It's a rather large place that is barely defensible right now. Barely with the force they have there now. Barely defensible. So again, with all due respect to Canadian partners, had a good relationship with the RCMP, and I hope that continues. As Cash and them move on, I think it will. However, I'm out of that space now, and I got to be honest. I owe you that. This Politico piece, the Canadians are very concerned about Greenland. Canada's muscular new anti-Trump strategy to abusing Greenland. Hey, really? Really? To the Canadian leadership, you really going to go down this route? Carney and others over there? Are you sure if the shit hits the fan that you're appropriately prepared to defend your own country, no less Greenland? I'm sorry, man, but I think you and I both know that this president, the taxpayers of this country, and this military, I'm not doubting the patriotism and heroism of your military and police officers. Your RCMP was amazing. But you got to be realistic in this spreadsheets game. That this blanket of security provided over the Americas is the United States. We're the anchor of this. And it's ridiculous to claim otherwise. You're going to defend Greenland by yourself? Your anti-muscular or muscular anti-Trump stance? Come on, man. Folks, if you saw the cornucopia of threats out there that the national security apparatus sees every day, you would see why this stuff is critical, necessary, not an option. Finally, this, and then I got a lot more. Did you hear the story about this Jack Smith prosecutor? Remember Jack Smith, that absolute tyrant? By the way, it's a not so funny story, but just quickly, I'll get to that in a second. I get this clip of our great Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to wrap up this segment. But I lived right down the block in an apartment from the Hoover Building, just a couple blocks away, and there was this little walk-through shop area, and me and Paula would go there, and there was restaurants in there. So when Jack Smith was in D.C. testifying, I'm walking by in this plaza, and we made eye contact for a second, and I had my security detail around me, and they're like, what? Like they saw me distracted because in my head, I'm like, you know when you see someone you do a double take? And he did the same thing. He was on his phone. I remember thinking to myself, what a disgrace. You'll see what I mean, too, coming up in a second about that. But finishing off this segment about national defense, thankfully, you've got serious people in charge. The media wants to caricature them. Pete Hegseth being one of them. He's done an amazing job. The Secretary of War has done an incredible job. There's always going to be hiccups everywhere, folks. You're running a massive, think about it. Like I told you in the beginning of the show, the FBI's budget is up at $12 billion. The Pentagon budget, that's like a tip at a restaurant for them. Really. Here's Secretary Hegseth on the evolving threats and how it is, and he's not kidding. For as much as, yes, there is a corrupting influence of the defense industrial complex. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a real thing. However, it is impossible to work right now with the threat of drones, EMP, hypersonic missiles. It is impossible for government employees to do all of this on their own. You cannot work without the private sector. That industrial part, you have to reduce the incentives for corruption and fraud. He's got Feinberg in there doing a great job over there, helping out. But we have no choice moving forward. We've got to evolve with the threats. Check this commentary by Pete out.
We're going to look at ourselves first, the way we do business. We've been impossible to deal with. A bad customer who year after year changes our mind about what we want or what we don't want, and then we make little small technological changes, which makes it more difficult for them to produce what they need to produce on time. So we have to fix our own house first, provide clarity, simplify the system, allow more people to access it, give that steady demand signal, which is what we're doing with munitions. I encourage folks to look at the deals we've cut recently with Raytheon, with Boeing, with other companies, Lockheed, on Patriot missiles, on THAADs, on other exquisite munitions. That's groundbreaking stuff. Our department's never done that. The Deputy Secretary, Steve Feinberg, is a whiz kid on these things, putting these deals together. The companies are investing because they know we're going to be buying into the future. That's just good business. We haven't operated that way before. And then things like requirements. There are mazes of requirements that this department has traditionally put on different systems and platforms that are impossible to navigate. And by the time you navigate them, you're 5 years behind the actual technology.
Folks, if we don't fix this procurement process, like Secretary Hegseth's talking about in conjunction with his Deputy Feinberg, you'll never forget it. You're going to see that mushroom cloud. And he knows that. All right, moving on. So we started the show with Jerry Nadler sleeping, I don't know, barely an hour, maybe less than an hour into that congressional hearing. Can you just stay awake, bro? Is it that hard? Listen, I'm not going to smoke you up. A lot of days we had in D.C. were 10 and 12 hours long. Some were longer. I mean, we had incidents going on like that Minnesota school shooting. You were there, upwards of 20 hours. And even when you were home, you were still on your phone on conference calls and everything else. There were long days. I get it. There are times you're sitting in meetings. You're like, get me another cup of coffee, whatever it may be. Everybody gets tired. This Nadler, can you at least stay up? There are unserious people in D.C. They are not there for the right reasons. I promise you, I did not go there to make money, okay? Anyone telling you that is obviously full of shit, okay? Went there to fix things, and I'm damn proud of what we did over the course of that year. But there are a group of unserious clowns in there who were there for the completely different reasons. And Jack Smith's team was one of them. And now you're seeing it. Did you see this tweet? Is this a Greg Price tweet? Greg Price, love his account, @Greg_Price11. The former lead prosecutor on Jack Smith's criminal cases against President Trump announced he's running for Congress in Virginia as a Democrat. Then you got that slob Vindman running. I mean, these guys, these people are jokers. They're clowns. I went there in a nonpartisan manner. Matter of fact, there's some guy now, I don't want to get into the details of it, claiming like, well, I was threatened. I know, we worked on it, and he conveniently pretends we didn't. It's total bullshit. And yesterday you saw it again in these hearings. The same one Jerry Nadler fell asleep in when he wasn't busy probably soiling his diaper. AG Bondi was up on the Hill yesterday discussing what's going on in the Department of Justice and got into a couple heated back and forth, one of them with Zoe Lofgren, who, again, wants to brings up the Epstein files, but she leaves out conveniently a key detail, a lot of stuff. It's amazing, again, to watch some of the people in these files and friends of theirs in the files sitting there throwing stones at everyone else. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Here's the back and forth between AG Bondi and Zoe Lofgren on exactly this. Check this out.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing. I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And nor did
Mr.
she
Chairman,
post
regular
anything.
order, please.
She
regular
posted
order.
nothing on her X account, on her Twitter account during the Biden years.
Gentle lady.
Yet now, all of a sudden,
question
she's
asked.
going after
Committee will be in
order. There was no question
Shame
asked
on
for
you.
Attorney General. She doesn't just get to
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr.
Gentle
Chairman.
lady can state her point of order.
When a witness attacks...
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her point of order yet. Please let her speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule. And
I am trying to make a point of order that the witness,
and what rule are you referring to?
Without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and instead is attacking
that is not even close to a point of order.
committee.
The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Folks, listen, in the chat, guys, I need the chat feedback on this. What is your opinion on these hearings? I got to tell you, I find them right now to be a complete, total waste of time. Seriously, I'm asking as a voter myself. I'm a citizen. I didn't lose my rights. Yeah, do a poll. Yeah, do a poll. I think these things are freaking useless. Yes, you love hearings. No, you don't. I mean, maybe there's an entertainment factor. I get nothing out of these. What do you get out of these? You're paying these people to do a day's work. They go up there, and it's all bullshit and grandstanding. You get nothing. Do you ever come away from these hearings, ever? Is there ever been a hearing you walked away and went, yeah, well, you know what? There is one for me. Remember the Bob Mueller hearing about the Mueller investigation? And Mueller, all he kept saying was, that was not in my purview. Not in your purview. You were investigating Russian collusion, and that wasn't part of your purview. That was one of the few times I ever learned anything. What is it? No. Fuck no. Wow. The results of this poll could be over. This may be the first 100%. Nothing comes out of this. Yeah, there's sound bites. There's obviously coverage of it. It's a major news event. But folks, let's be honest. Nobody's getting anything out of these damn things. It's a bunch of bullshitters grandstanding. They're taking money from people in these damn files. I don't know. It's total bullshit. It's all a show for these people. It's a serious matter. A deadly serious matter. Fought my ass off on that. It's the whole subject of a whole story. This clip from yesterday, though, this is maybe worth a minute of your time, too. This is Representative McClintock. Good guy. He's asking AG Bondi, and you can sense the sarcasm in his voice in the beginning, because, again, you're at a hearing where the American people are supposed to learn something, like, why am I going to be safer? I mean, you're the Department of Justice. What are we doing to de-weaponize the Justice Department? Like, these are things that should be, and all it turns into is a show. There's Congress people up there with their sound bites, or their staffers are on X right away. Look at me. Did you get that? Jerry Nadler, did you get that? What, between episodes of crap in my diaper, I fell asleep? Although I'm sure they're not putting that one out. Here's the AG with Representative McClintock asking about something actually important. Like, hey, man, like the violent crime rate's really low, which means like people aren't getting dead. We don't want people to get dead, correct? How did you guys stop a lot of people from getting dead? Kind of important. Check this out.
Under the leadership of the FBI, historic work has been done. A drop 20% in the nationwide murder rate in 2025. Least murders in our country since 1900, and that is to the work because of the credit of Donald Trump.
It's not just homicides, is it? It's also other violent crimes, robbery. Could you go through that list real quick?
Yes, Congressman. 100% increase in violent crime arrest in 2025 compared to 2024.
What's that done to the violent crime rate in the country?
It's plummeting. 1,800 gangs.
Wait a second. Do you mean to honestly tell us, and you're under oath, that if we take violent criminals off the streets, we end up with less crime?
I certainly hope so, Congressman, and that's our goal, and that's
an extraordinary concept, and I'm afraid it may be lost on some of our Democratic colleagues. I look at these numbers, and they're absolutely staggering. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because of specific policies that you've implemented this year. And you mentioned a few of them. Would you continue?
Over 6,000 child victims located, 22% increase. Over 1,700 child predators arrested, 10% increase. Over 300 human traffickers arrested. Let me jump down to DEA right now. That was just FBI. Under Terry Cole's leadership, and I talk to these people almost daily, our directors, and the amazing work that they're doing in all of your jurisdictions on the left and the right, working together to take drugs off our streets. Right.
Listen, I let that play a little bit. It's a longer clip. He's got like a rule against that too, but I needed you to hear that. Because this is stuff you're not going to hear from these left-wing media lunatics out there. And listen to those lunatics. I get it. You hear me? Hey, let's do like the hey Fokker moment, okay? That's a no. I get it. We are never going to like one another. I understand that. However, this is not about me and it's not about you. It's about keeping people alive so that their kids aren't raped, murdered, or killed in the middle of the freaking street in a lot of areas where your liberal ideology pervades and people are being killed. I showed you that Nick Shirley video yesterday. That was stunning. Go watch yesterday's show. Nick Shirley, you know, the independent journalist who was involved heavily in exposing the Minnesota fraud. He has a new video out in California. People dying in the street. Is he dead? I don't know. He's not that purple yet. Amazing. And for all the wrong reasons. Aren't you concerned about this? Why the crime rate dropped? Why the murder rate is low? Are you even remotely interested so maybe the model can be replicated with a future Democrat administration if you guys win so that people don't get killed? You don't give a shit. Just be honest. You don't care. And Greg Gutfeld on The 5 absolutely nailed this yesterday. Axios had this headline out that was one of the dumbest freaking headlines, and that's saying a lot, I have ever seen from any media outlet ever. And believe me, that's a rare distinction. So much stupid shit comes out to be the dumbest. They had a headline like, violent crime plummets despite Trump's crackdown. Do you know what despite means? You know, there's like ChatGPT and stuff, Perplexity. You can go put in an AI program, what does despite mean? And it'll tell you. Here's Greg Gutfeld just be clowning these idiots at Axios who aren't even remotely concerned. Do you know, you want to hear something? This is stunning. So I've been gone about a month now, relaunched the show, spent my year there, which was always the plan. I think maybe one media person, maybe, I'll be generous, maybe it was two, asked me and texted me or something or emailed me and said, hey, can you guys tell us what you did different about the violent crime thing? Nobody can. They don't care. They don't care at all. Check this out from Gutfeld. He was on fire yesterday. This is great.
The Axios thing is a great example. You know, they admit that the crime is dropping, but then they add that word despite. So they note the numbers, they change the story with the hope that that becomes the narrative for the rest of the discredited media. Now, in the old days, before X was sold, that thing would have been, it would have been the bat signal, the conformity trigger. Like, okay, this is the story you're going to run with. It'll help you explain the number. The Times would do it, the Washington Post, everybody. Republicans, however, they can report real numbers when the Democrats were in power. So they didn't have to do this. You looked at the millions that were streaming in undocumented across the border. You saw the murder rates. You saw the amount of overdoses. You didn't have to fudge it at all. So the Dems, what did they do then? They just avoided those numbers. The media avoided those numbers. They wanted plausible deniability. It's like, hey, as long as we're in the dark, you know, we can't say we knew and did these policies anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Pretend to be stupid all the time. Because then you'll have to acknowledge President Trump's crime crackdown using very simple, basic principles of broken windows policing applied nationally, even globally. You don't want to acknowledge that it was his decision-making process that filtered down through us and the AG that made a difference. Do you have to be clowns all the time in the media? Like, can you just once in a blue moon take your freedom of the press and be free to actually do smart, not dumb shit? I absolutely cannot stand these people. Absolutely, and I hate the word absolutely, cannot stand these people. The world would be a different place if they would just at least try once in a freaking blue moon tell the truth. And they cover for these morons too. Did you see this episode of tragic hilarity out of this small town in Illinois? So they want to pay reparations, which is the dumbest idea in human history. Reparations? Folks, has anyone ever owned a slave before that's alive right now? No. Has anyone now in the United States been a slave? If you aren't, you're a victim of a crime. It's a horrific stain in human history. Unfortunately, not unique to the United States. But Illinois City hands out $25,000 cash payments to 44 black residents to a reparations program. Here's the kicker. How did they get the money for the reparations program? By taxing weed and taxing the same residents of the same town. And here's another kicker, right in the nuts. The reparations fund, for all these liberals who love reparations, how much money in philanthropic donations, in other words, like charitable donations for the liberals listening, did the fund receive? Guy, how much? Goose egg, nothing. Zero. That's a great point. Bill Eilish. Bill, this is your opportunity. Talk about stolen land. You love all these liberal causes. Sell your $4 million home, give half to the Tongva tribe that owns your property, technically according to you, because you stole it. Give it to the Tongvas, and then take $2 million and donate it to the reparations fund. You won't, Bill, because you're full of shit, like every other liberal and liberal media hack out there. That's why. Full of shit. Like Jerry Nadler's diaper. Another great point. Maybe Mitt Romney, he wants to pay more taxes. Hey, Mitt, there you go. Go to that Illinois town and you're loaded. Listen, having money's great. I'm a capitalist. You go do your thing, brother. Go knock it out of the park. Take your wallet out and cut the check for the reparations program in Illinois that, despite liberal bullshit, received $0 in charitable donation. Donate $1. At least you can say, I gave something, and put it on the bumper sticker. Get a little sticker. You know, like I voted, I donated reparations. Give a quarter. You're not lying. You did give something, even though it was nothing. You did give something. Nothing. They raised $0. Thank you. Mitt Romney wants his taxes raised. On the tax front, I think it's time for rich people like me to pay more. Pay more, Mitt. Cut the check, bro. Is it the guy like a freaking billionaire? Great. Good. Stroke a check to the Illinois town for reparations. Forget them. I need a timeline cleanse. You know these timeline cleanse videos? If you're on social media as much as I am now that I'm back in the space, preparing the show, got to find out what's going on every day. They have these videos. You may not know, they call them, it's kind of a young kid's, like the timeline cleanse. You see so much toxic stuff on social media all day, doom and gloom all the time. Everyone's going to die. You need a timeline cleanse video. Did you guys see this one yesterday? It may be an older one, I don't know, but this one you're going to love. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, our video is exclusive to Rumble. Please go back, watch rumble.com/Bongino. Check out this video today. The audio is great, but the video is just spectacular. It's just short, but watch this dad fishing with his really young son. They catch I think it's a bass, but it's a big one. And watch the reaction of the son. And the son, call mom, get mom on the phone. If you're a dad or everybody's either a parent or a kid, right? The Immaculate Conception is not you or me. What is it? Fish with Mish? Fish with Bish, the hat tip there. This will put a smile on your face. Check this out.
Dude, are you freaking kidding me right now? J-Mo, that's a freaking huge bass. Are you serious? Look at this, dude. Look at this fish. Are you insane?
I'm not holding that.
You have to go get your pictures.
Oh, yeah.
J-Mo.
Yeah.
J-Mo. Hold that stinking fish up.
It's too heavy.
I know it. Look at this. J-Mo, that is insane. Look at that fish.
It's a small one.
No, it's a big old largemouth bass.
Oh, I can't hold it. Oh, send it to mama.
J-Mo, trust me, I'm sending this to everybody.
Timeline cleanse. We need one of those once in a while. I don't put too much of that in the show, but I hate doom and gloom all the time. God has given you a beautiful world. Do you ever see some of the sunsets and the sunrises, some of those colors in the morning? Touch some grass. I mean it. Actually touch some grass. Grounding. It works. Go out, take your shoes off, take your socks off, touch some grass. I don't mean that as an insult. Some people say that as to throw a shot at people. Touch some grass. Get some sun in your eyes in the morning. Move the body. Take a walk with the wife and kids. Go fishing with them. This stuff matters. Don't let the doom and gloom set in, man. We're living in the golden age of politics in the greatest country in the world. There are tons of threats out there, but I'll tell you, there's no time in human history I'd rather be alive than right now. Here's another kind of timeline cleanse, but back to the content of the show, because I know, often when I talk about at least my experience, whether it was my 12 years in the Secret Service or my year last year, I people in D.C., I did a lot of them, not all of them, I didn't find particularly impressive. Somebody feel the same way about me. Fair enough. That's okay. You're right in a constitutional republic, have an opinion. I worked for the taxpayer. But one guy I can tell you who was always there for us when we needed him, what we had to do was call, especially on national security threat items. I'll give you just one quick example, the drone threat, which I talk about all the time, because the drone threat, something is going to happen here. It's only a matter of when it happens, not if. Is Congressman Eli Crane. He was the congressman the other day up on Capitol Hill. This guy was one of the good guys. He's definitely concerned about the growing and evolving national security threat. Check this out.
Mr. Scott, Mr. Lyons, do you guys remember any riots, when for some of these victims that were assaulted and victimized by illegal alien criminals like Nate Baker, Laken Riley, Fletcher Harris, Skylar Provenza, Ivory Smith? I've got a whole list of them. Do you remember any riots from our Democrats or their constituents when any of these American citizens were victimized by illegal alien criminals?
No, sir. No, sir.
Why do you think that is? Because that's the question that I get asked all the time. Congressman, why do the Democrats care more about illegal alien criminals than they care about these American citizens, many of them who are young, have their entire lives ahead of them, didn't show up to a protest, right? to obstruct federal law enforcement. They're just going about their daily lives and they get victimized by people who aren't supposed to be here.
But this guy was always on the other end of the phone when you had a problem, whether it was a 764 threat. This is a real threat to your kids, folks. Anyone playing it down is just an absolute clown. This threat of these nihilistic, destructive lunatics going into these chat rooms and recruiting your kids to cut themselves and torture animals. It's real. We made hundreds of arrests on it, hundreds, potentially into the thousands by the end of the year. I don't have the updated numbers. I'm not in there anymore, but hundreds of operations. He was all over that too. All you had to do was call him. So again, I don't want to be a doom guy myself. You got people there who actually care about stuff. Justin brought this up this morning, just switching gears a little bit, but back to the beginning of the show, we addressed a real problem. I think I'm very concerned in this Guthrie case about the lack of cooperation, the sheriff with the Bureau. I am. Folks, there's a certain expertise they can bring. It's not a matter of who's better or worse, folks. I stressed this yesterday, is that the federal government has a lot of money to specialize in things. Specialization of law enforcement labor. They have billions of dollars in assets applied to technology that a local department may or may not have. It's not a better or worse thing. It's not. I want a homicide investigator to investigate a homicide case, but if I want technology tools, I also want the best labs in the business. But we have to be realistic about what's going on. And you saw with one of these, with the growing technology, that there is a huge surveillance problem in the United States. I am a civil libertarian at heart. I always have been. I am very concerned about this. Now, this is on you. I am taking this football because I've already made my decision and I'm giving it to you. You saw with that Nest camera footage in the Guthrie case, and this segment isn't about the Guthrie case, it's about surveillance. However, given that that is right now in the present, in the now, a current almost wall-to-wall news story, I want you to understand very clearly, these are very valuable technologies. Surveillance cameras, Ring, Nest, there's a role for them. But you need to understand that you're opening yourself up to ubiquitous technical surveillance of you and your home all the time. And you need to understand that. Once information is created digitally by a camera or elsewhere, it is very difficult to destroy. Not impossible, but that's kind of a universal law of astrophysics. Once the universe creates information, it's impossible to totally destroy it. It's difficult to retrieve it sometimes, but as technology gets better, it's going to be almost impossible to destroy information that's created. You need to understand this. I bring it up because of this article about Ring surveillance. There was an ad during the Super Bowl. You may have heard about the controversy, if I want to call it that. There was an ad during the Super Bowl. Was it Ring, Justin? Or Andrew? It was Ring? Yeah. Ring put this ad about how they found a lost dog and used the Ring surveillance. Listen, that's great. Everybody wants to find a lost dog. We want to find missing persons. We want to stop crime. Someone breaks into my house. I have some of these tools in my own house. I have to. I've made that trade-off, but I've made that trade-off voluntarily, understanding that this stuff is being watched all the time. You need to understand that too. Surveillance is everywhere. And it's not just Ring. I know Ring took a lot of heat over the Super Bowl ad. But folks, you've got these, what do you want to call them, like biohacking tech devices people wear? The watches and the rings. I wore one for a long time. You need to understand, like, that stuff is going to be at some point likely sold off, or at some point it's going to be hacked, and your information is going to be out there. It's a trade again. For a time, especially when I had cancer, I was willing to make because I wanted to be sure I didn't miss something. My sleep was off, my HRV score, I knew something was wrong. But these devices, even things like in Florida, we have the Sun Pass, like the Easy Pass when you're going through the toll booth. Folks, you're giving up, there's a trade-off there. And I'm just telling you as a friend of yours, that's a trade you're going to have to decide if you want to make. But the technology available now, and not just the FBI, but the DEA, big police departments, medium-sized police departments have, once you create information, it's almost impossible to destroy it. I've seen it. I'm telling you, I was stunned by some of the stuff they did. Computer left out in the heat for 3 weeks and wiped out completely. And they're like, well, we were able to take some stuff of that. Really? The thing was like melted. You'd be shocked at what, once that information's created, I can't say it enough, it is almost impossible to destroy it. Go into that with open eyes and you know exactly what you're doing. Senator Tuberville coming up in a little bit, but I got another segment I want to get to today. You know, it's been said often over, it's the old James Carville line he told Bill Clinton, right? It's the economy, stupid. It's the economy. It's not me calling you stupid. It's an infamous political line or famous political line that Carville passed on to Bill Clinton. It is always going to be about the economy. Why do I bring that up? We got midterms coming up. We've got midterm elections, and the liberal media and a lot of the doom class doesn't want to tell you the truth about where we are with the economy. I am going to give you right now, in a short, digestible set of nuggets, the good stuff and why some people in the doom class don't feel wealthier, even though the numbers, you should. There's a reason for it. Hang tight, I'm going to give that to you. But first, I want to play this clip by Kevin Hassett. President Trump's ear on the economy. He was on a media hit yesterday, and he was talking about the jobs numbers, which were incredible. They were expecting 70,000 jobs. They got 130,000 jobs last month. That's an amazing number. That's huge job growth. But there are 3 tailwinds he mentions here. I want you to hear the clip first. I'm going to just think about these 3 in advance. I'm going to tell you what he's going to tell you. That way you can process it as he's talking. He talks about AI. There's a rumor out there, AI is going to cost all these jobs. I know many of you in the chat probably think that too, and it may. But what do the numbers actually say? Second, deportations. You're here illegally, you got to go. That's obviously going to have an impact on job numbers. When a human being, illegal or not, is working in the country, managed to fake papers, and they leave, they should leave, period. You get it? I'm just telling you it's going to have an effect on numbers. And the third item is the president is engaged in the most incredible transformation of government in a long time, and about 10% of the federal government workforce is now gone as he streamlines it. That's going to be less jobs. They're government jobs, which is helpful to the private economy, but they are jobs. Check this out.
Private sector jobs, which is our main focus right now because we've been reducing government employment, they went up 170,000. They absolutely blew out any expectation whatsoever. So it's really a remarkable, strong number. The bottom line is I'd say there's 3 facts that I think that I really hope that the viewers would think about. Thing one is that we've been hearing this story that artificial intelligence is going to take away people's jobs, right? Well, in this report, labor force participation is the highest it's been in the United States since 2001. The next thing is that the government employment, because President Trump's team has given people early retirement and so on, that we've reduced government employment, federal government employment, by 360,000 or so people. That's the lowest share of the labor force that's working for the federal government since 1966. And what that means is that $29 billion this year less will be spent on government salaries, and that helps reduce interest rates and balance the budget. So there's a heck of a lot of good news in this report.
It's an amazing piece of good news. They had 130,000 private jobs despite massive, massive headwinds. Massive headwinds. Folks, quickly, on the AI front, I get it. I even had this conversation hanging out with a friend of mine a couple weeks ago. He's a very smart guy. He's telling me on a boat, hey, man, AI, nobody's going to have anything to do anymore. Folks, that has been said throughout human history. I need you to understand this. Every single time there's a new technology, when the gasoline-powered engine, they were like, man, what are these horse traders going to do now with horses? The answer is, it's not going to be comfortable. There's going to be a ton of friction. But human beings, you've got to put faith in human beings that they are going to find a way to create value for themselves and the world. That is every single time. The word sabotage is out of the French shoe, when they used to sabotage the shoemaking machine, the sabot, because they didn't want to lose their jobs. This has always been said. People will find something to do that adds value to their lives and elsewhere. Yes, the lawyers may not do anymore, have a paralegal do intensive law research, but the evidence is not there right now that artificial intelligence is costing hundreds of thousands of jobs. Private sector job growth went up. I'm just giving you the numbers. I I know sometimes it's uncomfortable to hear. There is going to be dislocation. There are going to be, yes, some paralegals and some accountant assistants who maybe aren't going to be necessary as accountants use AI. And there's a really amazing piece. Folks, you got to look this up. I was reading it. I'll cover it on the show tomorrow. I think his name is Matt Schumer. He has a piece. I don't know him. I've never met him. I don't care about the politics or anything. He wrote a piece on AI that's gone nuclear. It's all over the place. I'll cover a little bit on the show tomorrow. But he writes that a lot of people just don't understand the transformation going on right now because the models are growing so fast. Like you did a query a week ago that turned out some shit response on AI and you're, this stuff sucks. A week later, it's growing so fast that it's a totally different platform right now. This stuff is going to be invaluable. There's a potential danger to it like everything else, but I'm not sure it's going to cost that many jobs. I think it's going to add to productivity. Second, obviously deportations have an effect, but you can't come here illegally. You came here illegally, you got to go. And third, the DOJ government efficiency Kevin Hassett addressed. Yes, this efficiency matters. It's a big deal. Now, I said to you in the beginning of the segment, understandably, why have some of you, even in the chat, understandably so, why are some people like, hey, Dan, I get it, Daddy-O, but I don't feel it. Well, some of you are right. Some have been laid off or fired due to maybe a struggling business or AI. That's real. And you have my deepest sympathies. It's tough to lose a job. I've been nomadic my whole life. I get it. It's a risk. It's painful to lose that security. But folks, when you look at the numbers, the reason a lot of people in the middle class don't feel like they're better off when you look at the collective gross numbers are because the disparities between the middle class and the upper middle class is getting wealthier faster while the middle class, is getting wealthier too. So you've got this, it's like, it's a relativity problem. I don't mean like Einstein. I'll give you an example. You ever been on I-95? If you're going 55 miles an hour on a local street, I hope you're not, you're watching these houses pass by. It looks, because you're going really fast. The speed limit say 15. If you're going 55 on I-95, it's the exact same speed. But you're like, man, why am I going so slow? Because everyone else is faster. That's what's happening here. So that's why you sense a lot of gloom and doom, because the economy's growing so quickly, 4% and 5% estimates, which is unheard of, that when people get richer faster than you, even though you're getting wealthier too, it seems like you're still standing still. It's a relative problem, but it's real. I get it. I'm not naive to that. And we're going to have to find a way to balance out that economy without having the government's, foot on the neck. All right, I'm going to get to Senator Tommy Tuberville in a minute. These guys are doing their mandatory 100 air squats during the show. However, some good news yesterday on the SAVE Act, which I'll address with the senator, a hugely important piece of legislation to save our elections from fraud. It is necessary. There is no good argument against voter ID. There's only clown arguments. Yesterday passed in the House. However, before we pop the champagne bottle, I just want you all to be aware, the Senate, there you saw, in the Senate, we're going to have some trouble. There's going to be a little bit of trouble in the Senate because you got to bypass the filibuster. I'll address a critical issue, the filibuster for you media types. We're going to get into this now. It's going to be a difficult conversation for everyone, but I'm going to address with the senator, is the filibuster a valuable tool anymore? We'll cover the whole thing. This is an important conversation because it dictates who, over the next decades of politics and political operations in the United States, who's going to be in power and who's not. Democrats going to scrap the filibuster the second they get in there. There's no doubt in my mind. Cinema, Manchin are already gone. All right, I'll take a quick break, and then we'll get to Senator Tommy Tuberville running for governor of the amazing state of Alabama. WDE, War Eagle, folks. Hey, fresh start, same system. Seems like when the banks win and you pay, fees and calls piling up monthly, you got to fight back. PDS Debt has already helped hundreds of thousands cut their debt and put money back in their pockets, not the banks. Put money back in your pocket. Whether it's credit cards, personal loans, or medical bills, PDS Debt has real ways to help. They take their time to understand your situation. They build a personalized plan designed specifically for you. There's no minimum credit score required. PDS is here to help you save more, pay off your debt faster, and start keeping your money where it belongs, in your pocket. Every month you wait costs you more in interest rate and fees. You don't want that. The best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is right now. I use PDS. You should check them out too. Don't wait another month. Take back control in as little as 30 seconds. Get your free personalized assessment and the best option for you at pdsdebt.com/Bongino. Bongino. That's pdsdebt.com/Bongino. 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 Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary. Consult with your tax professional prior to enrollment. Now welcoming to the show a really good friend of mine, a good friend to the conservative movement, and a great friend to the state of Alabama, Senator Tommy Tuberville. Senator, welcome to the show. So good to have you.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome back. We're glad to have you back.
Well, I really enjoyed the year. You're in D.C. a lot more than I am. You know, it's coming from Alabama. It's a town with a lot of problems. I think the president and you all are doing amazing things. It's been the golden year of politics for the conservative movement. But we did find a lot of, when we were there over the past year, we uncovered a lot of really awful stuff. One of them is this fraud case in Minnesota. You know, Senator, as you know, I mean, waste in government is axiomatic. Everybody knows there's tremendous amounts of waste. But this case really hurt. The government's up to, I think, 150 plus arrests in this case. It appears politicians turned a blind eye in this. I mean, you're seeing it every day. Can you imagine if this is going on in a medium to smaller size state like Minnesota, how bad it is in a place like California?
Oh, it's out of control. And we all knew it was out of control. We've been paying New York and California's bills since I've been here for 5 years. Every bill that Joe Biden passed, one of these bills that through reconciliation, a lot of the money went to New York, California, just to bail them out because they don't understand spending. They just like to spend money and take care of people that don't belong in this country. But no, defund the fraud. And the one chance we have, Dan, is to this point, we've not had AI. AI will be a big part of oversight. And I'm going to be governor of Alabama here this time next year. And I truly believe that the governors have to step up. The governors have to step up and oversee all the money coming back in their states. Because if we don't do that, we're going to continue to leak oil. And if we do that, we're not going to be able to keep this country going. Our dollar will be worth a nickel. We're going to keep spending money that we don't need to spend money on. President Trump's trying his best. But even the rhinos up here, the Republicans, they vote to spend as much money as anybody.
Senator, I've got my fingers crossed. I think things are looking great for the state of Alabama. Hopefully we will be having that conversation in a year. Big supporter, as you know, I am of that effort by you. But I see a parallel here between the SAVE Act and what's happening in Minnesota. You just nailed it. The Democrat governors don't want, whether it's COVID funds or anything else, rigorous identity controls for who's getting the money for the same reasons they don't want identity control or voter integrity, because they like the cheating, because it benefits them. This is not a mystery, Senator. Everybody knows why they don't want these type of measures put in place.
Well, when you're not for law and order, you got problems, and they could care less. You've seen it of your year out into the FBI that they want to fight against law and order. But at the end of the day, the Democrats, they are fighting so hard against this SAVE Act, Save America Act. Dan, when I go into Alabama, there's two things other than the economy. People always like to talk about the economy, but the two things that the people are really, really headstrong about. One is close the borders, which President Trump has done. Two is coach. Is my vote going to count? We see all these blue states. There are about 15 blue states that they're cheating the hell out of the American people, especially when it comes to federal elections. And that's the reason we got to bust the filibuster. Enough's enough about tradition in the Senate. We have got to make sure that next November we have a chance to elect people, even in a blue state, whether it's in Congress or whether it's in Senate. Because if we don't do something about voter ID, harvest balloting, all this nonsensical things that they do when it comes to voting for 2 weeks, I mean, we have no chance. American people have no chance. So we have to get this done. It's the number one thing I think that we have to do between now and November here in the Senate, because last night they passed it in the House, and we've got to do something.
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the Senate with the Democrats. I mean, obviously we've got an overwhelming majority of Republicans, not all, but we're going to need to cross that 60 vote threshold. And I agree, it's going to have to. What did Reagan say? If you make them feel the heat, we're going to have to. And with people like Fetterman on the other side who seem a little bit open to it, I got a little bit optimistic, but realistically, I don't know if we're going to get there, and that really saddens me because I agree with you. It's impossible to have free and fair elections without the fair part.
Yeah, everybody talks about Fetterman. He talks a good game, but he never votes with us. At the end of the day, he likes talking on television. But at the end of if you look at the Democrats, we're not going to get any of their votes. You got to get 60. So what do we got to do? We got to bust the filibuster and do 51. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If we bust the filibuster, we've got 4 or 5 senators that they don't vote for their state, they vote for themselves and the hate of Donald Trump. They hate him. And so at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to get it done unless we have our leadership step up and say, okay, get in line here. This is one thing, no matter what we do, we've got to get done before November. If we don't, it's a great possibility. I mean, very big possibility that the House will go to the Democrats, the Senate will go to the Democrats, President Trump will be on the run for 2 years. Our economy will suffer because of it. Our country will suffer. Our borders will suffer. Our law enforcement will suffer. And, there's so many things that hang on the cliff here because President Trump has got everything rolling in the right direction, but the Democrats know they are real, real close to convincing a lot of these people, don't vote for this guy. Let's just run the clock out, and so we can take this country back over again as socialist.
For those listening on audio, Spotify and Apple, we're talking to Senator Tommy Tuberville, candidate for governor in Alabama, current United States Senator with Katie Britt. Senator, I wasn't going to ask this question, but you kind of led me down this path, and this is a really controversial topic, but I happen to agree with the president, and I think I align with you on this. The Democrats are going to bust the filibuster if they take back the Senate. That's a fact. It is going to happen. Sinema's gone. Manchin's gone. It's a fait accompli. So, I read the Wall Street Journal. I don't mind different opinions. They're a little more moderate than I am. I get it. They're totally against this. They say, well, listen, once the filibuster's busted and it's just a majority in the Senate too, the Democrats are better at passing big programs. Okay, you're correct. They are. That's not inaccurate. The problem is you're arguing, you're missing the other point, which is what I just said. You and I both know they're going to bust it anyway. So we might as well get out ahead of the game and just do our thing and pass the SAVE Act, shrink government, get some tax cuts in there, and rock and roll for the next year.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was against busting the filibuster, and of course, Joe Manchin voted against it and sent them, but they're gone. The rest of the ducks, they just walk in a straight line behind Chuck Schumer. They'll do whatever it takes. And so what we've got to do is we've got to understand this is our last chance, okay? Because you're exactly right. Day one, the filibuster will be gone. The problem with that then is how are we going to regain power again? We're not going to be able to get enough people to trust us because we didn't do it. Those 77 million people are not Republican voters. They're Donald Trump voters. He's going to be gone, and what are we going to do? We're going to be looking around going, okay, they got an advantage of the media now. They got an advantage of busting the filibuster. They got the House, the Senate. Heaven forbid they get the White House also, because if they do that, we'll go right back to the days of Joe Biden and Barack Obama with the destruction of the country and bringing in third world country people that 150 billion a year we're spending on, and American people can't afford. So I just, I've been up here 5 years and I've seen a lot go on. But the thing that I do believe in is that we need to take advantage of this opportunity with President Trump. He's one of a kind. And if we don't take full advantage of 3 years, give him the opportunity of a House and the Senate again for another 2 years, we're going to lose everything that he built on. And again, the only way to do that is pass the Save America Act.
Yes, I agree. And one more thing I just want to throw in there regarding busting up the filibuster and getting the majorities on both sides to pass stuff. It now allows us, Senator, to create a contrast. The problem we have with the filibuster is you get a Republican president, a Republican majority in the Senate, a Republican House, and Americans, rightfully so, and you hear it, Senator, like, hey, guys, get it in gear. You got majorities in both houses. Some, a small portion, but some aren't familiar with the mechanics. They work in every day. They don't have time to go through who's filibustering what and when. They understandably so say, come on, Senate, get it together. Now, if you get a majority on both sides, now you get a contrast. We get to do the Republican thing because we have the majority for 2 years if we don't lose, 4 years if we keep the House and Senate, and then the Democrats go do their thing. And when they inevitably, senators, screw up the country with their thing, which they always do, at least people can go look back and go, hey, those last 4 years under President Trump and that Republican majority were pretty damn good. It gives you the contrast effect.
Yeah. Well, I've told everybody this. Whoever busts the filibuster first will have the next 25 to 50 years for the United States. Heaven forbid they get it. But
Yeah,
when you get it and you do it, you're not going to lose. I mean, it's going to be very hard to beat them. They'll pass rules that we're not even thinking of. All we want is the basic things to make this a fair country. Give the American people and the taxpayers a chance to survive. But socialism is right on the doorstep. And just look at Bondi and all these crazies in these big cities, just like it happened in Europe. And now we're opening the doors to all the Muslims coming in this country. Again, hey, if you assimilate with us, I'm all for you. I don't care what country you come from. If you help this country become better, but don't come in here teaching death to America, try to change all our rules, change our Constitution. I'm not for that. It's time for you to go. And I don't care if you're from Europe, from Asia, or from the Middle East. If you're not here to help this country, go home. We built this country for 250 years, and we need to keep it that way. But I'm telling you, Dan, this is a scary, scary time for this country.
It is. Well, Senator, on a professional and personal note, given my last year in D.C., I want to thank you and Senator Britt for just your incredible support for the new revamped FBI mission of crushing violent crime. We were in that space before, but now we're really in that space. You guys, I've had a number of conversations with you. You and Senator Britt could not have been more supportive. As you know, there's a significant FBI training footprint in the great state of Alabama, now expanded with the drone school. But you see the results of folks like yourself who are as anti-crime as possible. It's crazy we have to say that, but you got the defund the police Democrats. You, Senator Britt, all of the representatives from Alabama, Dale and others, they're amazing. And look at the results, Senator. It's not a mystery. Axios was confused yesterday. They wrote a piece, violent crime down despite President Trump's crackdown. What do you mean, you morons, despite the crackdown? Violent crime is down because in conjunction with the Republicans in your caucus and the president, we went and arrested violent criminals, Senator. This isn't hard.
Dan, we're really proud of Huntsville, Alabama, and what they've done for the FBI. And you've been there, correct? Have you seen it, the things that we're doing there? We put a lot of money into it, and cash, and you were sending agents down. They're loving it. These agents are coming down there going, my God, we've never been here before, but they're living in towns where the streets are safe, the kids can go to school and get an education, and I guess we're a great kept secret, but people are starting to find out more and more. Space Command coming, a lot of great things in Alabama, but at the end of the day, if we don't keep our streets safe, what you and Cash did to help us in Huntsville with the FBI, in Birmingham and Mobile, and trying to change the DEI narrative, because we were headed in that direction also. Even though we're a red state, we can't control it because the federal government, puts people in there. Joe Biden tried to destroy us, but y'all helped us out, and I really, really am looking forward to working with the FBI when I move to the governor's mansion in Montgomery. But we have safer streets now because of you and Cash.
Well, thank you for saying that. You guys were a large part of the effort. Your police chiefs down there are incredible. I'm proud to say this was not an FBI-led effort. It was an FBI support effort. We went down, and I know your police chiefs are telling you this. I instructed, Cash instructed, and sometimes I'd pass on the instructions to our SACs, our special agents in charge. Go to the local police departments and just ask, how can we help you? Do you need our wireless truck? Do you need our cell phone analysis teams? What do you need to do to track down these warrants? I said to them often, Senator, I know we had this conversation. I said, listen, I don't care who makes the arrest. the Birmingham police or the FBI. It doesn't matter to me. Just get these demons off the street, and you see the results. And we had an incredible cooperation from you guys. I'm happy to hear about Huntsville, too, and the drone school down there. Finally, we're getting ahead of the drone problem. Let me switch gears just a little bit on this. You're involved, obviously, in a lot going on internationally as well. Senator Rubio gave a speech the other day. He was talking about the EU. And listen, it's great to have foreign partners and allies overseas. We all get that point stipulated. However, results matter. And the EU and NATO, with due respect, were not really carrying their national defense load. They weren't allocating enough of their GDP towards defense to contribute to NATO in a proper way. President Trump has changed that whole paradigm. And now he's saying, hey, listen, we're all about being allies, but this has to be a two-way street. You guys got to give too.
Exactly. I'm proud for President Trump to come in, but he recognized that the first 4 years, he just didn't have enough time to get it implemented. He held their feet to the fire. And of course, they don't like President Trump because he speaks the truth. He speaks for America first, the Western Hemisphere. And the thing about Europe is they open their doors, okay? And they're leaking money worse than we are when it comes to migration. And the thing that we have to learn, and President Trump has done that, he's learned that, hey, they opened their doors and they waited too long. We need to be ahead of the problem here with immigration, even legal immigration. We got to be ahead of the problem here. We got 340 million people here that we need to take care of, and we can't take care of everybody. That means that NATO and the people of Europe have to pay their own way. President Trump I'm full on with him on this. Western Hemisphere first for the United States of America. We got to take care of our neighbors, and that's what he did in Venezuela. That's what he's doing when the so-called deals with Greenland. Anything that goes on in Latin America, Marco Rubio is doing a great job. But take care of us first, and as we saw during the campaign, America first, and he's sticking with that. And then Europe, again, God bless them. They've done it to themselves, but they're going to have to start spending 4 or 5% on their GDP to keep their military going, because we can't protect the world anymore. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, it is too dangerous. And I know you have been briefed in on many of the threats I was briefed in on every day in the briefings we got every morning. Senator, the world, this isn't the 1950s anymore. I mean, not only we have the nuclear threat, which obviously has been around for decades, you have threats to our industrial control systems. You have cyber attack threats. You have hypersonic missiles. You have, the Russians and Chinese building capabilities in space underwater. This is a far different national security environment. We all have to kind of wake up and take a big sniff of what's going on and say, hey, like you just said, Europe, you better step up, man. We can't be the world security umbrella anymore. I know you're busy, Senator, so I want to squeeze in one last question here. And I want to wish you the best of luck. We're talking to Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama in the governor's race. My support there, obviously. I think you're going to be great. But your feelings, I should say, let me rephrase that. You're up on the Hill all day, obviously. The general atmosphere on the Hill about the midterm elections. You read in the newspaper, the left-wing lunatic newspaper, everybody wants to jump off a bridge. The Republicans are blaming Trump. But wait, are you serious? Like, President Trump won states no Republicans won. In decades, he transformed the whole electorate, the minority vote, young male voters, non-college educated working class voters. I mean, they can't be serious, like blaming President Trump for, the media malaise.
Yeah, it's a media attack, Dan. They're going after him. As I said earlier, the 77 million people didn't vote for Republicans. They voted for Donald Trump. And the media knows that. All media. Everybody says, well, we've got some media that's online with President Trump. No, they're not. I mean, at the end of the day, you look at the entire narrative of every station, some of the people there are really, really against President Trump. And that's what really burns me up. And the American people, they need to be able to see through it, because as I know, that's theater. You only get your news from now podcasts and things that really people are going to tell you the truth, like your show here. And it's so important that y'all keep doing what you're doing. But, Dan, I go into these classified hearings and I come out going, I wished I hadn't heard what I heard. And as you say, we live in a dangerous world. And I go home and I go jogging in Auburn or whether I'm in Birmingham, and I go up and down the streets and people are laughing and joking and raising their family and kids are going to school. They don't really realize how much this world has changed. The whole complexity of the danger that is out there, that is, who are they after? They're after us, the United States of America, because we're the big apple on the tree. And, you don't want to get out there and just start shouting Chicken Little because you want people to enjoy their lives. But we need people here, and we need people in state and local government to understand we better fight. And it is a fist fight every day against the communists that are coming, because they want the big apple in the world, and that's the United States of America.
Senator, I tell you, you absolutely just crushed it there. You are 100% correct. I would leave those morning briefings, and once in a while I'd be talking to my wife, be around lunchtime a few hours later, call her from the desk phone, and I'd say, Paula, ignorance is bliss, man. Some of these things, you're right. You can't unhear them. And you're right. We walk around, you see your kid's volleyball game, and, I hope you enjoy your lives. Everyone, there's no need to panic. Luckily, Donald Trump's team's in charge now, but the senator's not kidding. Things could go bad really quickly if we don't get our heads on straight and at least keep the national security mission out of the bipartisan fights every day, and the Democrats don't want to do that. Senator Tommy Tuberville, best of luck. Hopefully soon, Governor Tuberville. And listen, the basketball team, we got to get it together. They're doing a great job, but War Eagle, my brother. In football, I'm optimistic. New coach. Just quick, how you feeling about the football team this year?
Well, I think Auburn would be pretty good, but the problem is it changes every year. This NIL is a disaster. I've talked with the president about it. We got to find some way to. I don't care if kids make money, but this transferring every year, playing for 6, 7 different teams. Auburn this year lost 60 players on their roster. 60. And how do you build a team? They show up, and then next year you might lose 60 again. Somebody to leave for another handful of money. It's not the way we run our country, and it's not the way we run our education system.
No.
It's not supposed to be pro sports. It is supposed to be an education opportunity for young people to work their way through it and learn through education and sports. And right now, all they're learning is how to make more money. And again, that's the way of life, I guess, but that's not the proper space to do that.
You know a little bit about coaching. I absolutely love Stephen Pearl, though, and Alex as the new football coach. Stephen was handed a lot. I mean, he lost Janai, Dylan up with the Kings now. I mean, he lost basically his whole team, and to come back and be not just competitive, but it's a tough season. So I think the leadership at the university and the coaching staff is just amazing. So we'll see. Coach Tommy Tuberville, hopefully soon Governor Tommy Tuberville. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. God bless.
God bless you too, sir. What a great guy. Love Tommy Tuberville. So he has my full support in that race for governor. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Another banger of a show today. Make sure you tune in every day at 8 a.m. to Vince Call and Ace, rumble.com/Vince. And then Haley after this show, Karenea, rumble.com/Haley. Please, I hate asking you for favors, but this one matters. Go to rumble.com/Bongino, my last name, obviously. Click that subscribe button. You can get notifications about when the show goes live every day at 10 a.m. And if you wouldn't mind, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcasts. And please subscribe, follow there as well. It's free. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow, live at 10 a.m.
Hey there, I'm Vince.
I'm Haley Karenea,
Host of Vince.
host of Scrolling with Haley.
You can always catch my show right here
On the Bongino Report channel.
live, 8 a.m. Eastern, weekday mornings.
Noon weekdays. And if you miss it, no worries. The show will always be
Right
here
here
and anywhere you find a podcast. Thanks for watching.